It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful cold day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Would you be my neighbor? Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Power to the People. Listen, they say there is no, some people saying there is no climate change. But Texas was shoveling out. Texas. Some of my grandkids are in Texas. They had school closed. The King holiday was Monday. Sunday, they had already declared schools would close for Tuesday and Wednesday. Florida, skidding around all over the place, trucks jackknifing. Florida. Atlanta, Georgia, snow. Now here, we expect it. We ready for it. We got the boots, the gloves, the salt, the snow blowers, the snow thrower. We ready. California. Now, some of this is not climate change. Well, some of it is. That's my fault, y'all. Some of this is due to climate change, the fires, because of the lack of rain. So from sea to shining sea, we have had climate. I believe in climate change. We've had climate change all over the place. And we have now an administration in the White House who has just left the climate change talks. Paris Accord. He said, forget it. We're not doing any of that environmental stuff. We're not going to slow down carbon emissions or gas cars. He said, keep on making cars. Now, big ups to the unions who make cars, but the unions can make anything. So I think that there's a healthy balance that could have been there. But today, one of the things we're going to talk about, one of the things is some pardons, some executive orders that have been put into place and how they really affect us. First, before I start the show, I want to remember Superintendent Nellie King out of Lackawanna, longtime superintendent of Lackawanna, has passed on. Nellie King was one of those people you thought would never die. Just never, ever die. Strong advocate for children. Probably one of the greatest advocates for children, if not in the state of New York, but at least across this country, if not across this country. But we know in the state of New York and in Western New York, she advocated for children, for progress, for movement. So our hearts and prayers are with her family, and we dedicate this show today to Sister Nellie King, Queen Nellie King. So, when I say so much to talk about, well, first of all, let me say this, because we did talk a little bit about the missing $2 million from the AARP. Not no AARP. Not no AARP. ARP. So people like me. ARP funds, American Rescue Plan funds, the ARP. Well, it appears that it's all settled. That it was a clerical error.
They found it.
Somebody didn't put it in the Munis system. So everybody, sky is not falling. The $2 million+ has been encumbered, will be used. I don't know what way. I don't really care right now. I care that they found it. And so that's over. That's done. That's done. A couple more people have stepped into the mayoral race. The Christopher Scanlon has stepped in officially, and somebody else announced this week.
Michael
Gaynor
announced
this week. And I got Rashid NC White here. What's up? Oh, you've been working on what you working on the building? It's a true foundation. Holding up the bloodstained banner for your Lord with them boots.
I'm snow blowing.
You snow blowing? So check this out. When I get off air and I got a couple appointments, I'm going home because I don't have my company do my backyard. Mm-hmm. And like, so every time I come out of my back door to go to the garage, I'm like on a ski swim. Like, I ain't gonna front. I almost fell because I got a patch of ice and it's covered by the snow. So I'm going home. I'm gonna put on my big snowsuit that I bought last year with my big gloves and my this doggone thing.
Oh, you hot now?
I'm going to put
it was a refrigerator.
My big gloves on and my big shoes and my heated hat and my heated socks. And I'm going to clean out some of my backyard.
You know, I remember when we were working here at the church, and we were
my earphones aren't on. I'm
we
like,
were just building
out
out True Bethel, and I remember you would come with that big old what is it, like a jumper?
The
overall, that's what it is.
Oh,
that big old.
right.
I'm like, what is going on with this guy looking like Homer Brown?
Yeah, I still do. I think I still have that.
That big brown thing.
I still have it. No, I'm not on. I can't hear.
So you getting back in season because it's climate change. You had to get your big boots.
Yeah, but you know, I like snow blowing and all that. But
I like the snow.
I just don't like the cold.
Yeah.
So if it could be 60 degrees and then I could snow blow, I'd be good. I would snow blow the whole block. The whole entire block.
Devin said to me, "Dad, you want me to snow?" No, I got it.
I'm not that guy.
I like doing that.
I'm not that guy. Jamie and Jayden would have been outside snowblowing homes. I'm not that guy talking about, nah. Let me tell you what I like, sitting in the house, warm house, with some fuzzy slippers on. No, I'm just kidding. And so we got a lot to talk about. Money was found, so we took care of city money. Money was found. It wasn't entered in Munis, council member. Okay. It wasn't entered in Munis. It's now entered in Munis. So the day has been saved. He come in here with his Donald Trump self. I got a question. Let's just go to the inauguration. I got to ask this question before we get to the white supremacists. Okay. And I will say white supremacists because the top shooter gave me the license to say white supremacists, and I'm not going to beat around the bush. We're going to talk about white supremacy again today. What did y'all think? This is just my question about the right reverend, dark skin, and the prayer. Because I heard different stuff. Now, it depends. I found an AI that will go through the news and separate how news agencies present a story.
Wow.
So you have these conservative news agencies that were like, oh, this was the most profound prayer that, oh, my gosh, people on there, I've got to go to his church. And then you look on the other side, and it literally lists them out.
Wow.
And there were people going, that was a travesty. And how dare you use Dr. Martin Luther King? Do we have it? We on? I don't have. Okay.
Figure out the password.
I dare you use Dr. Martin Luther King to invoke him in this session. What do you think? What's your feeling?
I didn't hear the prayer because I was consumed with what the bishop had to say to his face about the immigrant and that because
that didn't happen. But that didn't happen at the inauguration.
Right.
That was the next day. Yeah. That was at the prayer service.
Yeah, because I didn't. Unfortunately, I was like Michelle. I'm with Michelle. You know, I didn't.
So do you? Well, let's get to the prayer first, and then. Oh, so you didn't hear the prayer?
No.
So let me tell you, it was a black pastor out of Detroit who has been a Trump supporter, and in his prayer, he starts to invoke the words of Dr. King without crediting him, and goes through the whole speech by memory and looking up to the sky and all kinds of stuff. The benediction, I believe in total, all of it took 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's 20 minutes of benediction. Wow. What do you feel about a black pastor at a swearing in of somebody like Trump and invoking the Dr. Martin Luther King speech?
You know, it's unfortunate because even though you would say this to us regularly, don't follow me, follow Christ. And so for you to get up there and talk about those things or pray as if we're not dealing with the real issues of humanity as God would have us to do, is almost like, you're not being responsive to what you've been called. That's if you've been called. So I don't know if he was called in this particular situation, because I would think that you would have a sense of humanity. That's what Dr. King would have. Dr. King would against all the normal norms, even as it related to the Vietnam War. Even though they said, "Oh, if you do this, they're not going to work with you," he still did with the right thing. People were hurting.
Yeah.
And so for him to say that in the travesty of what Trump is talking about, as far as migrants, just deporting them, separating them from the families, that you can't speak and invoke Dr. King with that type of mentality against people.
Well, he did.
Yeah.
I can see on my phone if you don't get it.
Oh,
We'll
yeah,
fix
yeah.
that later. He did, and
definitely did.
He, with thunders, So at first, I was like, okay, there's some mention of Dr. King on his day when we got
Right.
inauguration of somebody who's getting rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion. But then later, it just kind of felt like, I thought if anybody was going, I don't know. What do you think?
My struggle, I think, was more on, to put a biblical reference, it felt like Samson, like you just getting out there and shaking yourself, and as we used to say around here, ain't felt nothing. It was a travesty because, as we talk about later, it's already one issue when we feel like we have one sector of people that aren't for us, and then you get, it's like you get an opportunity to get a platform and you coon it up for everybody.
Did you think he cooned it up?
Absolutely, and that's
Snoop Dogg coon it up?
I was hurt. I was really hurt. And even with Nelly too, like, I just did it because it's an honor. But this man, minute after minute, every chance he gets, is discrediting everything that our ancestors has fought for. And that's where I'm like, at some point you got to put your foot down. All money ain't good money. And at some point you got to look yourself in the mirror and be like, man, did I do the right thing? And that's what's hurt.
I mean, when I think about a lot of the black leaders, even during the civil rights movement, and like people like Sidney Poitier and others who weren't going to take certain roles because I'm not going to take that role just for $1 because I'm disrespecting my people.
Yep.
And so that's not the case now. Now it's about, hey, it's an honor to be there, and it's an honor to get $1.
Let me know in the chat on Facebook. I don't have we got to get all that back together. I don't have the chat of YouTube, but chat Facebook. Let me know in the chat what you felt about Snoop Dogg, Nelly, or the preacher, or all of them, or just individual. Let me know. I'm real interested. And somebody said, well, this is a black and white thing. It has nothing to do with black and white.
Yeah,
because
it's left black and white.
This has to do with ideology.
Yes.
This has to do with direction of a country.
Yes.
And because because at first I was just like, I'm going to keep, I've been trying to master the middle, be the peacemaker, and I still am going to be the peacemaker. But I do think that there has to be a voice of people when we feel like injustices are happening in our face, and that the bishop that you're talking about, the next day of prayer. Now, here's the funny thing. Diamond Howard says, yes, Snoop Dogg sure did for Trump, saying cooned it up. The interesting thing is when I did the prayer at Congress, I had to send it ahead of time.
Yes, you do.
And they had to vet my prayer.
Yes.
They didn't vet, obviously, the bishop's sermon the next day. Because when I say she went in super in, and he was upset, and now he's talking about she doesn't know her job,
and wants an apology.
I'm just like, oh my gosh!
The man said he wants her to apologize.
Now, apologize. I think that for 4 years we didn't have a whole lot to talk about. Now, I'm gonna say this: I'm not that proud about that either. That in 4 years we really didn't have a lot to talk about when it came to the White House.
Right.
Love Joe. Uncle Joe, love him. But at the end of the day, there weren't big changes. The one thing I'm going to say that I feel is that this man did what he said, and he's doing what he said he would do.
Yep.
And some moves I agree with. Like, you just can't throw out the baby with the bathwater, right?
Right.
There are some moves that he is making. For instance, when they took all of yesterday and the last couple of days, they had a lot of gangbang, like people who had committed really bad crimes,
Right.
and who were still here in the United States, and still doing stuff. And I'm not going to say I'm totally against that move.
Right.
I am against separating families, and I'm against you writing an executive order to say that if you're born in the United States, you're not a citizen when the
Right.
Constitution says that.
Absolutely.
And a judge, thank God, on yesterday said, hold up, wait a minute,
Yeah.
right? So thank God. So, but he doing what he said.
Yes, he is.
But I just don't think, I think if I'd have got a call, I think they would have vetted my prayer.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't know, I think I would have probably in some ways invoked the thoughts of Dr. King. First of all,
absolutely.
I would have credited to him.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I would have put it in the prayer, because the prayer is your communication to God. So I don't know if I'd have put it in the prayer. That wasn't scripture. That was Dr. King. I may have, but that's me. But the question is, would I have gone? And my answer is yes. Now, I would have went because I don't think that as a minister, you hold back your calling from anywhere.
That part I agree with.
Right?
Yes.
So I would not, if the Republican Party called me today and said, hey, we want you to do the prayer at our Republican dinner. If I'm available, I probably would do it. I'm not going to take my ministry and make it partisan.
Right.
Right?
I was going to say the gospel
Right.
is not political.
Absolutely. But I have to be able to pray for the things that I think are important.
Right.
And if that is limited, then I can't do it.
And you know what? I think that if Dr. King were alive and he was invited, he probably would have went as well. I don't think that he would have not went. I think he would have had a prayer, a different prayer, though. Just like this woman, this bishop, who I really appreciate her honesty and just her humanity, because that's what this is about. You know, when you're in that type of position, you would think that they would have a heart for people. And what he's talking about doing to these people who in many cases are good workers. They're not criminals like everyone. It's portrayed. They are hard workers, and many of the jobs that we have that people don't want to do, they're willing to do. And so they are important to our economies, but this guy is acting like they're the slums of the world, and we should get rid of them, and it's just unfair. So I respect your stance to say, you know what, because I have a message. And I can't mute my message because of the person, because I got to still say.
The prophets of the Bible did not limit their message for their audience.
Right.
And they had to go into really deep places. I mean, the bishop, she said her piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's very surprised from the stuff I'm reading now of all of the backlash. Well, ma'am, and I just taught this last night. If you're going to be a servant, I'm dealing with this Sunday, you got to sign up to suffer.
Absolutely.
And if you're not willing to suffer, you can't do this kind of work.
Yeah.
So Eric
there's a
Howard
lot of
says,
comments rolling.
Coons, Amber Bowling, and again, these are the opinions of the people who are saying them. Amber Bowling says, this has to do with respect. Sandra Scruggs says, if they support Trump and voted for Trump, why would they not perform for him, kiss his ring and all that? And all those other people who voted for him and watch him. So I kind of agree with her. If they were supporting him, they made that choice. Yeah. We live in a democracy. There are so many things about the president and what he's doing that I don't agree with. But at the end of the day, he's the president. Right. And so if they support him, Diamond Howard says Trump ain't even put his hand on the Bible, ain't something that's something for him to be. Now, I noticed that right away. Now, do you think it was by mistake?
No.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Really?
He pays attention to everything he does. And so he knows what he's doing.
So you think he knew not to put his hand on that Bible?
I don't think he knew. I just don't think he respected.
I don't think he thought about it. Why am I giving this man because there's been time. I mean, I've been sworn in time after time after time. I don't know. I mean, I know I put it on there, but I don't know if in the midst of all of the changes that happened today and all of the protocol, I think
he knew something. It's like, I better not do that.
I better not put my hand on this Bible.
I better not do that.
Video, Benning says, video of a black woman at a gas station. White man had a gun in her face because she asked her for information. He hit her car. Veronica Ivy says Snoop Dogg should think about all those young black males on his football team.
I agree.
He has a football team?
Yeah, he coaches out in L.A.
Okay. On his football team that can't live peacefully under Trump leadership. I'm sure Snoop got paid, but it's not worth it. He's hoping people will forget because he's not Chrisette Michelle.
And I think the big thing, and it's in a later comment, the thing that kind of puts Snoop back on the radar is 8 years ago, he called people Uncle Toms for performing at Trump's first inauguration. And then now you come out and you and Nelly accept, and everybody's like, well, but wait, like you just said, don't perform, and now you're there.
Wow.
And honestly, the video I saw is he's got a DJ himself, and he's performing, and it's just a room full of white people. And it's
Who Snoop?
Snoop, yeah.
So the president never even seen him perform.
I don't believe the president was even there. It was like a ball.
Come on and bring some wisdom to the conversation.
Wow.
So, yeah, because I don't really know who Nelly is. I mean, I ain't into music, not that type of music like that. So,
Yeah, he was a mapper. Came out in the early 2000s. Country Grammar was one of his big songs. It's Getting Hot in Here. That's Nelly. Yeah.
So most people on here, at least, well, let me read Michael Robinson. Michael Robinson says, I think that much of the overt racist acts by Trump are a distraction from a far more sinister strategic move toward power based on division and financial and ethnic. I agree with this.
Absolutely.
Stratification. When you look, so where the richest people, some of the richest people in the world sat, is where governors would have sat.
Absolutely.
So there was a overt, I care more about the wealthiest people than I deal about states.
What you said earlier, and I've been saying this all week, really for the last 2 weeks, this is no longer about black, white, orange, yellow, and pink. This is about rich and poor.
Yep.
And it's got nothing to do with anything else. Yep. Because even if you are a black person that has money, you can get in these rooms and these conversations as long as you don't offend. But it is truly now more about money, rich and poor, and that's it.
He's made it plain, but here is the scary part that Africans living in America and people of color, period, ought to be shaken, be paid attention to.
Absolutely.
Is that because he's more concerned about the wealthiest, there's not a whole lot of attention to the poor.
No.
And so when we talk about, and it might have, might not, stuff like SNAP benefits.
Yes.
He's got a man out there right now by the name of Elon Musk who is running a department of whatever.
Basically like economic efficiency.
DOGE or something, right? So they're
Government
looking for
efficiency,
waste.
that's it.
There it is. They're looking for waste. Do you not think that they will take from the poor
Absolutely.
in order to enhance the rich?
Yes. Social Security going to be next.
He just put out, the president, a cryptocurrency that just bottomed out.
Yep.
One man lost $1 million of his savings. Ain't nothing said.
Nothing.
It's like quiet.
And then some of the alliances, like I see that the Saudis have some huge billion-dollar project that they're doing, which we've not really heard much from them. But now he's aligning himself with those people who have money to get them to come into the United States, to do projects that he can talk about, how he did this, he did that.
Well, what's funny with that, council member, is he literally said, the Saudis said it was $600 million, and he said you can't start it unless you bring the number to $1 billion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I saw that. I'm like, oh my God, this is just insane.
So the rapper Snoop is known for his previous controversial stunts to condemn the former president, such as shared an EP cover on social media in 2017 that shows him standing over Trump's body. In a 2018 visit to the White House, he smoked a blunt outside of the building. In one of the most controversial moves, Snoop Dogg is seen in a music video shooting a clown dressed as Trump with a toy gun.
Yeah.
Now, this is his statement. I have nothing but love and respect for Donald Trump. He says he ain't done nothing wrong. I quote, he ain't done nothing wrong to me. He has only done great things for me. He pardoned Michael Harris.
Yeah.
Now, people can have a change of heart. Adrian says, my thing is on Facebook, and you can comment on Facebook or read them. How do you go on social media calling the black man Uncle Tom if they perform at the inauguration and turn around and perform at the very inauguration? Question is, where are you? Are you an Uncle Tom? Sandra Scruggs says, Bishop is the modern day. But Michael Robinson says, I can't judge the motives of the brothers. Perhaps they have deeper reasons than we are able to discern. Sandra says, the man ain't crazy. He knows what he does, what he's doing. This is about to be interesting. 3 years and 11 months.
And you might get more than that because Congress has already introduced a constitutional amendment for him to get a third term.
I heard.
Already.
I read, I should say. If that passes, I don't know. I don't know. It's not going to pass. It's not going to pass.
We said he wasn't going to be president again.
So he said that there would never need a president after he got president.
And I think that all of his shenanigans are leading to that. Just like he released all the Proud Boys who
we get into that.
Okay.
Elon,
stay tuned.
What do you think about Elon Musk? And they said it was,
which part?
With his hand in there. I don't even want to do it.
Oh, the
Heil Hitler.
Yeah.
Do you think he did that on purpose? Just like, do you think that people are now just every little thing they're nitpicking? He didn't put his hand on the Bible. Did he not put it? Did he forget? Did Elon Musk with his a shout out like, hey, oh?
But it's hard not to be cynical in these situations because you just know that these people just feel like I'm free to do what I want to do. And so how do you not believe that maybe this is part of who he is? Just like Trump not touching that Bible, kind of, at least he has some respect and understanding. If I touch that Bible, it might be some stuff that might happen to you. He might have a little bit of faith, but it's hard not to believe that.
I truly think behavior is consistent, and I think where we end up is people, whether they mean it or not, it just gets you talking. On the sports side, not to put him in the category, but he might be. But like Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, he will just do things to keep the Cowboys' name in your mouth, to keep the Cowboys' name in the media, even when they could be winless and no one cares about them. But Jerry Jones will do something to make you, every news station, every ESPN, everybody talk about, oh, the Cowboys this, the Cowboys this. And I think a lot with Trump, he may be a terrible businessman, but he does play the media.
Oh, absolutely.
So it would not trip me out if they did all of this just so we sit here and can constantly talk about it. And so he can now say, oh, look how popular I am. Everybody's talking about me.
I totally agree. And I think that he plays the media well. And even before he was sworn in, a lot of the comedians were like, we're not going to be running to everything Trump says. Absolutely. This is not going to be 4 years of Trump. The next day, every one of them, that night, they tailor-made it for Trump.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. Listen, in a minute, we're going to come over to the station and pay the bills. But when we come back, we are talking about the pardons that President Trump made. Some of them are people called the Proud Boys. And some of them are people who are admitted white supremacists who have been let out of jail and pardoned. And the question is, do you think that is going to have an effect, a ripple effect across the United States of America for white supremacist groups and for groups that decide to do violence when they're not getting their way? Because I want to talk about it, and I want to talk about it in the context of all of the movements of Black Lives Matter and what they were called, and then what happened. I'm coming over to the station in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
When it comes to something as personal as your clothes, you need to deal with somebody you can trust. That's why so many people turn to Hobson's Dry Cleaning, conveniently located in the heart of the community at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming.
When you take your clothes to Hobson's, you can trust that they'll be ready on time.
You can trust that your whites will be white.
You can trust that you'll always get a fair price and service with a smile.
You can even trust that you won't have to get out of your car if you don't want to. Hobson's has a drive-through window for your convenience.
Trust is what it's all about at Hobson's Dry Cleaning.
Hobson's Dry Cleaning, your one-stop dry cleaners serving the community for over 30 years at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming. Call 891-8298. That's 891-8298.
Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home has 3 locations to serve you in Buffalo: 347 Peckham, 2258 Bailey Avenue, and Providence Memorial Chapel at 1275 Sycamore. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes offers traditional services, and they have services for all faiths. And at Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes, they have air-conditioned parlors and chapels. Financing is available, as is limousine service. At those difficult moments in your life, Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes is available where you are with counseling services. Call toll-free 877-885-7734. That's 877-885-7734. Or locally 845-5545. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes. We are here to serve you, here to serve this present age. Call today, toll-free 877-885-7734. Or email info@brianklewisfuneralhome.com.
Man, oh man, oh man. So the cut you down. The president has signed some executive orders. One was the dismantle. Now, let me say this: when the president signs executive orders, some of it doesn't mean it's going to happen, because some of it needs the approval
Absolutely.
of Congress or the courts. So he can sign it. He's the highest office of the land.
I mean, even though he does control the courts right now. So
Come on,
so-
preach. But when he signed that executive order ending DEI,
Yeah.
he sent people home on leave,
Paid leave.
paid leave.
Sit there.
Federal employees are worried about their job. He's now saying all federal jobs is on merit. No consideration for color, no consideration for females who have historically not been in the workforce and in federal government. He said, forget that.
Yep.
He said Elon's grandkids need jobs.
That's exactly what he
Refugee and asylum restrictions, suspension of asylum rights, the birthright, promotion of capital punishment. I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, he that was on one of his campaign promises. He wanted to bring back capital punishment and the death penalty. Yep.
Well, some folks are afraid that the order encourages the youth that is encouraging the use of the death penalty could exacerbate existing racial disparities in sentencing.
Yep.
Which historically has been disproportionately affected African Americans
Yep.
in per capita.
Yes.
Yep.
So let's talk about the big one right now that the president signed, and that was releasing, and that was immediate. He has total power over this. Releasing and pardoning everybody who was, he said he would do it on a case-by-case basis.
Everybody.
But he did not. He excused almost everybody
Yep. 1,600, I think, plus.
and let them walk.
Yep.
One of those who was the head of the Proud Boys, and he has got out saying, when I've got people who did this to me, they're gonna pay.
Yeah.
He was bold enough to say it. Now, in study, it says that doing this, the January 6 rioters, some feel it reinvigorates the weakened militia movements. Experts warn that Trump's pardons have revitalized previously weakened U.S. militia movements and empowered white supremacists.
Absolutely.
When they talk about comparison to historical precedents, the current situation is being likened to the reemergence of the Ku Klux Klan in the 1920s, suggesting a potential for widespread growth of extremist ideologies. Creation of loyal armed followers. The pardons have created a group of supporters who may be willing to engage in future violent actions on Trump's behalf.
Yeah.
Do you all agree?
I do. I definitely agree. And it's scary because how he's trying to dismantle the FBI and these groups that kind of kept a cap on this. Now he's emboldened these individuals because these white supremacists that were let go, they feel like, oh, we got somebody that's with us now.
And he's the president
Definitely.
who appoints
Yes.
who's the head of the
Head of
FBI.
Yes.
So let me read a little bit more. Go ahead.
I
Go
was
ahead.
just going to say, so, my thought sometimes with the federal government is if you want to stop it, you get black people involved. And we said with gun laws, if more black people start getting gun licenses, next thing you know, whoa, now you got to sit into a 4-day class basically I think even still, if you look at the mid-century, I think once the Black Panthers came on emergence, then it was like, whoa, let's settle down with all
Yeah.
these militia groups and everything.
Right, when it
else.
was the Panthers.
When it's the Panthers.
And the Panthers wasn't even out really carrying guns
No.
and knives.
No.
They were trying to deal with peace.
Right.
Exactly.
Protecting their neighborhood.
And protecting their neighborhoods.
Right.
And now you have, so it says that legal experts worry that the pardons send a message that political violence in support of Trump will go unpunished. Following the pardon, some anti-Trump lawmakers have increased their personal security, fearing potential targeting by emboldened extremist groups. Online, with Trump in office, these groups have permission to come out of hiding. Veronica says the fact that George Zimmerman is still out is why we are here today. Maria Collins says they came out of hiding in 2016. He needs to be the first one for capital punishment. And it goes on. But so how do we respond? Okay, so we know. You're not going to tell me that there are not white supremacist groups out there right now that feel very emboldened,
Absolutely.
that feel very free, and that feel that for the next 3 years, I'm counting down months, 2 weeks. It ain't in 2 weeks yet,
No,
right? He
it's
hasn't
still the
been
first week.
God, this is the longest week. This has been a long week.
Yeah.
That for the last week. So now we have 3 years, 11 months, and 3 weeks. You're not going to tell me that there are not people out there who feel that if I go and I'm protecting the integrity of the office of president
Or the democracy.
yeah, or if I'm a patriot,
Yep.
that somebody's not going to let me off. Because just what you said, Mike, this is scary. Like, this is biblical.
Yeah.
That if I go to court, if it makes it to the Supreme Court,
They rule in my favor.
Good.
it's all Republican-led.
Yeah.
If I run to Congress, it's Republican-led.
Yes.
Where do I go?
I mean, because when you saw it a little bit when they were attacking these judges and they were going in federal judges, that is really, really scary.
Absolutely.
You went and killed the federal judge's son at her home.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness, this is just falling apart. And it's very, very scary. And I can understand. I mean, those senators who are getting additional security because of those things. Who was it that he took their security detail away? One of the
the former
defense secretary. He took
yeah.
his security away. I was
The
like,
National
wow.
Security Advisor, wasn't it?
Bolden.
Yeah.
Bolden. He took his detail away. It's like, oh no, he won't have Secret Service anymore. So I'm afraid listen, if I was Bolden, I would get my own security because he's sending you a message, oh, we coming for you.
Or we leaving you so far out there.
Yeah.
We putting you out there. We putting you out there on the front line. How do you think? Here's the question, Facebook. Here's the question, everybody. So how should those of us who are targeted groups of some of the white supremacists, how should we react as African Americans?
I definitely think it's by organizing. And like I said, it may not be to the... Honestly, it should. It should almost be...
You went from organizing, you was about to give the nice little landing answer.
No, it should be a Black Panthers model because, like you said, Black Panthers started because they said the police isn't policing our neighborhoods. We are. And I think you never saw a Ku Klux Klan rally walk down the streets of Oakland. So I think it's easier to attack targeted groups when everyone is separated. When this group is staying over here because I don't mess with them, and when this person doesn't rock with them over here, then they come right in the middle and tear everybody up. But knowing that there is an organized front that I'm gonna face, if just for streets, if I say, hey, if we cross the east side of Main Street, we're going to be met with XYZ, they're not going to come across Main Street. And I think that's the level of organization we have to be ready to stand on.
Really?
Yes.
Just let my cynical self say we. You must be talking outside of West New York. Because are you talking about people of color, black people, African? Let me be specific.
Yeah.
Because African Americans are different than every other people
Absolutely.
of color in the United States, because we're the only people who were brought here by force, the only people who were made to build the country, only people who were raped and beaten and all that kind of stuff that we know about for free and still trying to get up. And as we're getting up, then now all of a sudden everything is taken from up under us. You think, and we can't get on the same page.
No, sir.
Do you think we getting on the same page for this?
No, sir.
A few of them going to be out here Snoop Dogging.
Yep.
That's what I'm going to call it, Snoop Dogging.
So
My
I do agree with that. I do.
My
I
first
completely
thought
do.
was you got to bear your arms. And I'm not even into that like that. But I think you got to protect yourself. And I hear more and more people saying that because they are concerned.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not one to say, everybody go get a gun. But you got to protect yourself.
I got it. Now, if this research is right, I have to retract something I just said. The Black Panther Party, now we talking about the Black Panther Party, was armed neighborhood. They had armed.
Yeah, they were
neighborhood.
armed. Yeah.
So I want to take that back because I
That's true.
said they did not have
they
weapons. At the peak of its in 1960s, the party had over 2,000 members and chapters in several American areas.
Yeah.
And the government opposition, FBI, under J. Edgar Hoover, considering the Black Panthers a major threat,
Yes, they did.
and used counterintelligence programs, which mean they spied on them to undermine the organization. The Black Panthers continue to resonate with current social movements, including Black Lives Matter. So, and that's something I just read. But when it was black people that organized, that's why the other people, I'm talking about people who are white supremacists. I'm not talking about white people because I got white members. I mean, I hate when people say I got white friends. I don't have anything against white people, period.
Absolutely.
End of the day, I'm talking about white supremacists. I'm talking about
Absolutely.
white people who think that they're better than everybody else and that we need them to bring us the water and everything else. Well, just open up the water. We can get it ourselves. But if you block the water, we can't get the doggone water. But when it's us who organize, I think they're so glad when we don't.
Absolutely.
When we stay very, very distant from one another, when we hate, I'm going to be careful. I ain't turning this and knocking us off the air. When we stay distant from one another, I think that there are people who are grateful. They are grateful.
Oh, yeah. Celebrate it.
Because we ain't got our eyes on the prize. We fighting amongst ourselves, and it's almost like the Israelites and the Egyptians. The Israelites outnumbered the Egyptians, and the Egyptians were a smaller group, but they kept them fighting amongst themselves. Oh, we gonna get y'all some grain. So y'all ain't even focus on the Egyptians that y'all gonna take them over because you fighting amongst yourselves.
And if we don't see this now, sometime, I'm going to tell you this. Oh, I could preach this right here. I could preach this right here. I believe that there are times that God has to send a crisis
I do too. I've been saying that too.
in order for there to be a plan.
Absolutely.
So that's what I believe. I'm not saying that God sent this crisis, but I do believe God can get the glory. And because we have been so divided and so against one another, at times God has to show you, oh, y'all missing the whole master plan.
And like you said, and not to turn this into a sermon, but just like I was sharing with you about Jeremiah 29, everybody gets to the 11, that God knows the thoughts I have for my people. But he started that chapter by saying, Israel, I'm getting ready to send you into captivity.
Yeah.
And you're going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
But do this, this, and this while you're there. And I do think, like you said, there's times where God says, hey, you're going to have to suffer through this. Remember, I'm still king.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to suffer through this, and then you're gonna have to figure this out. Because, like you said, the longer we kind of just go through, like everything's okay. Like you said, kind of like the last 4 years, like blah blah blah.
Yep.
There's no way they're gonna put him back in office. Blah blah blah. And next thing you know, here we are.
He is, yeah.
Well, I know I was watching Al Sharpton at Abyssinia, and he was talking about now that his organization, NAN, is looking at the companies that are backing out of DEI.
Yeah.
And I think we ought to know who they are.
Absolutely.
Costco, I mean, we don't
McDonald's.
even have a Costco. Costco said we in.
Yeah.
Oh, Costco has stayed in and said we're still going to do diversity and equity and inclusion. I'm all down for Costco.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to pretend that I'm about to cancel it because there's certain things, I hear allegedly,
Walmart was one of the first ones.
that's going to back off of
Yep.
it, right? So, I ain't about to say I ain't going to Walmart, but I will say this. And shucks, now we ain't gonna be able to get nothing because I was
No.
gonna say I could order it from Amazon, but I don't know where he at.
And
He all the way over to us.
I mean, but
And I don't mind them supporting Trump.
Yeah.
I'm talking about if they backing
It's your
off
policies.
of diversity.
Yeah.
But I go back to something you did when we were going against the Walden Galleria for
Yeah.
the stuff. You wouldn't go in the Walden Galleria.
No, I didn't go
You
in
ain't
Walden
gonna go
Galleria
for
almost a decade.
long time.
Almost a decade.
But I think when leaders like you stand up in that way, there are people that will follow. And I think if we don't send a message, when I heard Reverend Sharpton talk about that, and I'm like, man, he's right. That's where we have to galvanize and come together because these groups feel like, oh, y'all not going to stick
We're not gonna get together.
So we ain't going to worry about it until we show them our strength, until we show them our resolve. They were like, oh, we don't care about y'all. Costco like, oh, we don't care.
But we got to
with
be
Trump.
willing to suffer.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely.
what always happens in movements, if there's a movement,
Yes.
is
Suffer.
that they always find, and I'm just going to keep saying it, a Snoop Dogg.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it's like that person has a voice,
Yep.
and that person says, hey, Negrons, hey, ninjas, slow it down. These people over here are okay,
Yeah.
and let's just all be okay.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it then takes another decade for things to turn back around, and then we just out there. And I'm concerned about my grandkids and my great-grandkids and all of that. I'm concerned about them and what kind of country that they will have to live in and the opportunities that might have been there because of systemic racism that we had put some guardrails in place that in a week, those guardrails just got lifted.
Yep.
And so, again, I've seen, if you look through the Bible, many more people turn to God in crisis. There was crisis. Here's David and Goliath. Goliath is whooping their tail. One person.
Stood up.
And it took somebody like a David, and even David's family wasn't there. His brother wasn't there going, go get him, David. But David went and he did what he had to do. So you got to have that in our communities. I think back, I know now weed is legal and everything else is legal, but it wasn't legal when you and I were
Right,
young.
right.
And you and I protested the store on East Utica
Sure did.
with a whole lot of folks
Yep.
and
Drug
Fillmore
paraphernalia.
because they had drug paraphernalia
Yep.
right next to the candy.
Right.
So right there was the wrapping papers and the bombs, and I was like, wow, I remember going in the store like, wow, y'all for real? Like our kids can't be kids. Our kids have to be introduced to this, and we did it. Still met with opposition from our own people. But we got it done.
Well, and like you said, the whole just think back to the probably greatest one we can think about in our memory is the Montgomery bus boycott.
Yeah.
It was a whole community of black people saying, we not riding the bus. We're going to walk 5, 6,
Yeah.
7 miles.
Signing up for suffering.
Absolutely.
I'm talking about this Sunday. I think the title is I signed up to suffer. Because if we don't sign up to suffer, we suffer at the hands of other people.
Absolutely.
And at least if I sign up to suffer, I'm signing up so that something will be better. But we're in a comfortable world now. We're in a world that is enthralled by TikTok. One of the reasons I believe that they want to keep the TikTok and all that is because it keeps us entertained.
That's it.
And I'm not gonna lie, I fall into YouTube. I'm not into TikTok, but I do fall into YouTube rabbit holes.
Absolutely.
And because the algorithm knows what I like. And now I've sat there for an hour being entertained instead of working on something important. The other day I had to say, if you don't close this computer, open, change over to the book you're writing and write over in this chapter and stop this mess. Because you're watching other people's lives. It's keeping us in this perpetual entertainment. And now you got
numb,
even
dumb, and entertain.
But I tell you where they not numb, dumb, and entertain, China.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And other countries where their kids get out of school and they study.
Yep.
And they, I mean, not just study to complete the grade, not just study to pass the test,
excel.
but they are studying for their life. They are studying for their lifehood. They are studying so that they can provide for their families for the rest of their life. They're studying so that they become the doctors and they become the scientists and they become the engineers and they become business owners. They're studying. Like they're studying. Many, and I don't, cancel me if you want. Hell, you tried already. At the end of the day, many of our children, when they get out of school, they do the minimum, do the homework, and then it's the game.
Right.
And if that's how we doing it, that's how we doing it. But these other folks are planning already.
And we wonder why Johnny can't read. And it's so much that we as community have let go. You know, I think about Dr. King and how he stood regarding the bus boycott, but there were still people that didn't even support him in that.
Yeah,
they didn't support him. They were like, oh, he's a rebel rouser.
That's where the whole Progressive National Baptist Convention came from.
I mean, even his father, when he spoke out against the Vietnam War, said, "You shouldn't do that. You will alienate our friends." But the man had to do what he was called to do.
Yeah,
and we have to believe in the leader. He had to suffer.
He had to suffer.
He had to suffer.
And he had to
Absolutely.
sign up for the suffering.
Yep.
But right now, we continue to be weak and raise weak too often, where it's like, oh, just get yours, get your little job, and the future is hanging in the balance for people of color. And if people of color don't see that, and I'll be specific, if African American people of color do not see that, we really do them. Because I promise you, Hunter Biden, I'm not Hunter Biden. What's Trump's son? Hunter Biden, they didn't say, Trump, the tall Barron. They already scoping out where Barron gonna land.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
They already scoping out where other people gonna land. So they not sitting back, man. We sitting back. So I say to every African American, and I keep saying this, and I don't care if you get tired. I'm gonna go down saying this. I'm gonna die saying this. To every African American that likes to separate African Americans and fight against African Americans, shame on you, because you're doing exactly what other folks want you to do.
Absolutely.
And I mean all over this country. Go
And
ahead.
I was just going to drop, I found an article, the 12 major companies who have caved to DEI, removing DEI. First one on the list is Amazon.
Wow.
Quietly removed several policies from public websites aimed at protecting solidarity pledges from black people and transgendered workers. Meta, of course.
Which is Facebook,
Instagram, McDonald's.
which I'm on right now.
Oh, yeah.
You get it? So they get to control the commerce. They get to control the narrative. Because if they don't like the things I'm saying right now, this content will be hidden.
Absolutely.
And that's why, and I keep saying it, that's why we invested in an African-American radio station. Because one thing they can't do is go over there and tell Sheila Brown, you can't let Darius Pridgeon say what he's saying.
Right.
But if we don't have anything, go ahead. What other
Walmart, Molson Coors, for all the beer drinkers. Ford. Yeah. Ford Motor Company.
I was about to say something like I ain't getting a Ford, but I drive a Tesla.
So, yeah.
Everything about me.
Yes.
I'm going to have to ride a horse.
John Deere, Lowe's. Yeah, I can't go any. Harley Davidson, Brown. The maker of Jack Daniels, Brown Forman, Tractor Supply. Yeah, so we know with Toyota Motor Company, and that's the 12 major.
So y'all Lexus drivers.
Yeah, I know.
But I ain't got to. The man was on the stage. The car I drive.
Smiling.
What I'm gonna buy? I can't buy it.
Yeah.
Is Mercedes on there?
They German, who knows?
Oh, brothers and sisters, we in trouble. We in real big trouble.
And it's trouble that we've brought on ourselves. because, as you said, we fail to come together. We fail to unite. We fail to do things that are impactful for our neighborhoods, for the people that look like us. You know, I think about our school system. Years ago, when they established, when we got the freedom to some equality to be in the same type of school settings, those schools that were our schools were the best schools.
Yeah.
Because there was something inside of us that we wanted to prepare our children to be able to deal with the issues of our world. And now it's not like that. And we are sitting here dealing with the issues of our children can't even read. And they do more fighting, they do reading. And we as a society, we as a community have not addressed those issues that we know are going to fall on those children
Absolutely.
that don't know any better right now. They're children.
Absolutely.
And we haven't stood in the gap. And so now these things are happening to us, and we really don't seem to have any control over it.
Hobson's, the Dr. Dry Cleaner, 874 East Delavan. Listen, take your clothes over to Hobson's. I got a whole bucket of clothes waiting to go over to Hobson's, the doctor of
bucket?
dry cleaning.
I got a bucket there now.
I got a bucket.
That when I tell you I got that ticket, I said, "Oh, geez, these might stay here for a little bit."
Yeah. Don't leave them too long, or I'll be wearing your Stacey Adams or whatever you put in there. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes, in your hour of need. 3 locations to serve you: 347 Peckham, 2528 Bailey, and 1275 Sycamore. In your hour of need, it's Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home. They took care of the Chavez family, the Revere family, and the Jennings family, to name a few, this week. Well, folks, listen. This is a serious week. We laugh, bring some levity to this, but I'm going to tell you this. It's serious. And if we, as people of African descent, do not understand the severity of the emboldened white supremacists after the president's decision a few days ago, then you're sleeping under a rock. This world just took a tremendous shift. And if we can't get together now, we might sooner or later be able to get together in heaven. Until next week,
Power to the people.